This is Johnny with Tiger Bomb MMA, and tonight I'm going over UFC Fight Night Holloway versus Allen taking place in Kansas City, Missouri. I've got tickets to this fight. I'm super excited for. What I'm not excited for is this is the fucking third time I have to record this because the last time I recorded it, the first time it was like bad audio. The second time I'm like, oh, perfect. Like I poured my heart and soul. Uh, just kind of came out of my shell a little bit. I was like, oh, thanks everyone who's been subscribing. And then I checked the audio and it's just me going, oh, my motherfucker. So I'm a little pissed off that I have to do this again, but because I've talked about these fights thrice now, this will be the third time. Um, yeah, but hopefully I'm gonna make it a little quicker. I'm gonna condense it a little bit more. I went like 2 hours the first time, and then an hour and some change the second time. So unfortunately, for those who enjoy listening to my delightful voice, it's going to be reduced time because I'm like, fuck this. Kind of sucky. I was going to do this Sunday, but I got enticed to go see John Wick 4, and I'm like, okay, I'll go watch John Wick 4. It was awesome. I enjoyed it. But let's skip the initial introduction because I was going to talk about this a little bit. Adesanya, cool knockout. Made a good amount of money I made over this card. Um, Raul Rosas got exposed. I was happy about that. Yanez got beat up. I wasn't necessarily happy that it got beat up, but I was happy that Font got the win and people were shitting on him. And I'm just happy that Font won. For Adesanya, kind of acting like a little bit of a twat for a 30-some-year-old man. I'm not going to shit on him for being immature. It's just, it is what it is. Poatan, he'll be back. Not too concerned about it. Like, nasty knockout. But like in the movie Inglorious Bastards, where Brad Pitt's character, they tell him like, you can't do this, you'll get court-martialed. He's like, nah, I'll get chewed out. I've been chewed out before. He's been knocked out before. He'll be back. He's cool. He's like, whatever. But let's get started with the main card here. Not the main card, but the, I guess, prelim opener here. Bantamweight bout. Jocelyn Edwards versus Lucia Pudilova. Hold up this. Motherfucker. Guess my light is dying. Whatever. Pudilova is a favorite minus 150 comeback on Jocelyn Edwards plus 125. Man, I spent like maybe 3 minutes breaking this one down, but to me, it comes down to who's the better fighter. And there's no clear advantage on who the better fighter is, but the better athlete is Jocelyn Edwards, in my opinion. Dog money, dog or pass for me. I'm going to take Edwards to win this one by a decision. The biggest concern is that Pudilova, very unathletic, the way she shoots in for her takedowns. She's becoming more of a grappler now that she's at SBG. But I'm not impressed by her. Like, what I was most impressed by her was her ground and pound, where she funked up Wu Yanan on the ground once she got her there. And I was like, oh, okay, that's very nice. But everything else before that, very bad. Like, she's kind of like scooting in with her arms open, like ducking under to try to get the takedown. And like knowing that Jocelyn Edwards, checking her Instagram out, working hard on her strength and conditioning. I don't like her takedown defense, but I don't give a fuck. I'll take her at dog odds. Possibly, I'm not sure yet, but I like her as a dog or pass situation here against Lucy Pudilova. You know what you're getting into. If she gets taken down, she might be able to get held down by Lucy. But uh, although I like Lucy Pudilova, aka the Wolf Bitch, I just don't like the way she fights. So I'll go with Edwards here. Next bout, we've got Gaston Bolanos versus Aaron Phillips. We've got the Dream Killer Bolanos versus the Dragon Phillips. And another fight that I could spend a good amount of time breaking this one down because I do find that there is some threat and danger with Aaron Phillips. Just that overall, I don't think his heart is in it right now. I think that he is not fully focused on his fighting career going into his like Instagram. It seems as if he is just more focused on his Head Kicks MMA gym that he owns, I believe, or at least he's coaching. I didn't dig too deep into him. I know how good Aaron is on the feet. I know he's good at kickboxing. His gym is named Head Kicks, for God's sakes. And he's going to be the taller guy against Bolanos here. And Bolanos, although I like the guy, he's not the most skilled guy. I don't know if he's fully UFC ready, but he's a very good kickboxer. His takedown defense is getting better. He's going into bantamweight. He used to fight at featherweight. He's jacked as hell. And I just think that he is more motivated than Aaron Phillips. And although I don't necessarily consider Bolanos to be the better fighter, his ceiling is much, much higher than Phillips. He just has to avoid the kicks to the face and the head and to the body. And I think he can actually knock out Phillips. I'm going to go with Bolanos by second round knockout. I have to say, though, I have to say this: Aaron Phillips should not be discredited here. Like, not in the sense of his skill set. I think his skill set matches up well with Bolanos right now, at least on paper. But with what I'm seeing outside the cage, it's very nice that I'm seeing. It's just not good for my wallet. Like, yeah, he's becoming more of a family guy. I'm not seeing him training. I wanted to potentially take Phillips because, like, you might hear the hype of Bolanos. I like him a lot. I really do like Bolanos a lot. And I like what I'm seeing from him in training, and especially the way he's been dropping out of bantamweight. He looks fucking ripped. But like, I'm realistic, and I know there's a pretty easy ways to beat him. He's been submitted a couple times. Solo Hatley Jr. took him down many times. Should have been a unanimous decision for Solo, not a split. But whatever. I got Bolanos here. I think he's going to get a really spectacular knockout. Go back and watch some of his highlights. He got a really nasty spinning back elbow back in Bellator, and it was really nice. And most of his fights are free. If he's on the prelims, you just have to actually search what event it was, like UFC or Bellator 277 prelims, and you'll see his knockouts there. Next bout, we've got Bruna Brazil versus Denise Gomes. We've got what are the odds on this? Twizzy. Bruna Brazil, the special one. Minus 230. Like, I've read that so many times, and it's still funny as hell to me. Minus 230. Come back on Denise Gomes is a plus 190. Very simply put, stay away from this bout completely. Dog or pass. Not because I think Denise Gomes is skilled enough to beat Bruna. I just think that they match up. They're fine skill wise. One's better on the ground slightly, and the other one's much better on the feet by a lot. And with Bruna Brazil, she's going to have the height advantage, going to have the reach advantage, the striking advantage. She's a world champion Brazilian kickboxer, but she doesn't have the output that I need. Denise Gomes, she's dating Carol Rosa, and she's basically Carol Rosa's punching bag. She did a lot of terrible things with the fight with Loma, and there were some moments there where I'm just like, oh no, because I have Loma money line and whatnot, and I'm like, oh no, she's got her down, and then Denise Gomes gifts us a perfect way to get Loma off of her back, and she gets reversed, and I'm like, yay, Denise Gomes, I love you. You're so bad that I love you. Yeah, I got to go with Brazil via decision. I think she's the better fighter, but not by much. I do think that their styles match up well, and whoever is willing to push it a little bit further, whether it be like Bruna Brazil being more active, I think she wins this one. But if Denise Gomes is actively being a pit bull, and goes after the takedowns, I think she can have a lot of success against Bruna Brazil. I think Bruna Brazil is a bit of a fraud. I think her day is coming. It's just that if you give her the right matchups, similar to like a Raul Rosas, he's gonna look very good. And I think Gomes has a good shot here to upset, but I cannot pick her based off of her previous performance, where I know what she brings to the table. She's got some decent pop in her punches. I just don't really like the idea of her giving up bad position, even though she's on top. You know what I mean? I don't want to deal with that. This fight does not exist on my book, so I'm going to ignore it. Betting wise, I just wrote Denise Gomu instead of Gomes. Mew is one of my favorite Pokemon, so that works for me. Next bout, we've got Daniel Zellhuber versus Lando Vannata, the Golden Boy versus Groovy Vannata. Pick him right now, minus 115, minus 105, 115 for Zellhuber. 23-year-old kid. He really shit the bed last time, but I think he's uber talented. I think he's going to really show up in this fight. Vannata is 31. I was shocked to see that he was 31. Like, as many times as I look up Lando Vannata, I always forget how young he is. It's just that he's been through a lot of wars, man, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to hang with Zellhuber. I think Zellhuber is just a much better fighter, clearly the younger fighter. I hate having to explain that horrible performance because I cannot explain it. I can't explain why he looked so bad against Trey Ogden. The issue is that I just think he had a bit of the jitters in the first UFC bout, and I feel as if with his team at Extreme, like he was with Extreme when that happened. So it's not like, oh, Extreme's going to fix all those issues now that he's in that team. I think they are going to fix those issues now that he's had that experience, I should say, because usually when you switch teams, they're like, hey, we can fix these issues. I think Extreme is a good place for him. It's just that they didn't expect that. I don't even think Daniel expected him to kind of be like, what the fuck? So now that that's happened, I think it's going to be the best thing for him. He's still very young. He's uber talented. If he lets his kicks go, he has fantastic kicks. He's going to be the bigger guy, longer reach. It's his fight to lose, and I really do think he's going to look fantastic here against Vannata because Extreme Couture is going to be like, you're not doing that shit again. We're going to make sure you never do that again. And they're going to get him prepared to like overcome that performance. And he's going to, I think, show up above and beyond here against Vannata, who's a crafty guy. But again, he's taken so much punishment that I cannot take him here, especially at this reach, height, and everything disadvantage. So I've got Zellhuber by, I'm going to say second round TKO. I think those head kicks, basically, it's going to be landing body kicks, and he's going to throw a kick up high, which Lando will block, but it's still going to rock him, and Zellhuber's going to take over and probably finish him on the ground with strikes. So round number 2, TKO Zellhuber. Next bout, Piera Rodriguez versus Jillian Robertson. Dead even as a pick'em. And very simply put, Robertson's very good on the ground. And yes, she beat Rose Namajunas in, I keep saying Cage Fury, but Fury, grappling, whatever. Choked her out easily. I am not impressed by that. I expected that. Rose is good, but she's undersized. Jillian's a big girl for that weight class. Jillian is a one-trick pony. If she can't get it to the ground, she is a punching bag. You can knock her ass out with one leg up in the air, and you can hurt her in that position. Jillian is good on the mat, but getting the takedowns, not the best. She's tenacious. She'll go after it. She can get hurt. She can keep going forward, but eventually I think she's one of these girls that like she'll call it a day. And granted, she looked decent against Agapova. And what I mean by that is Agapova was beating the shit out of her with one leg up in the air, but she kept going forward. So I'm like, hey, it's a good sign. She's able to take these punches. She's not quitting. And she eventually got the choke, which I'm like, oh, cool. I was hoping you would. I had money that you would, but it was like not a good sign. Piera Rodriguez has not looked great in the UFC. And I kind of do blame it on, I guess, the stylistic matchups that she's had. Against Sam Hughes, oh, nice. Dodgers scored. Against Sam Hughes, it was like Sam Hughes is one to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? Like she's got good cardio, and that cardio is like a deadly, deadly weapon against some of these ladies if they decide to like extend themselves too much. Piera did the bare minimum. She got takedown. She won. Her takedown defense is solid. Not great, but solid. I think she has power in her punches. It's just that she has to let it go. And what I liked in her debut against Kay Hansen was that she got taken down and it almost flipped the switch on her. It's like, bitch, you can take me down. I'll take you down. She took her down, controlled her. And I feel as if she can hurt Jillian on the feet, and if she were to stuff a takedown reverse and get on top and land some damaging strikes, I think she can finish. I think she can finish Jillian Robertson. And I think this might be a spot where Piera Rodriguez, especially if she is at a dog price, I don't think she's at a dog price now, but if she does get to, say, maybe a plus 120, I have to bet her under that. Like, again, got to know what you're getting into. Robertson could just take her down, submit her really easily, like the way she takes your back. That's really it. She's more of a choke girl. And if she does get that position, it's a wrap. It is what it is. You lose your money, but you know what you got into. But I'd rather be on the dog side here. And I mean that literally. I think Piera Rodriguez is a vicious pit bull dog bitch. La Perra Fiera Rodriguez. I got to go with Rodriguez here. Again, it is what it is. I understand that Jillian can take her back, but if she can't, and if Rodriguez can stuff every takedown, I think Piera could let her hands go, and she could get a finish either on the feet or get her to the ground and finish her with strikes. Again, I understand Piera's like, no, she hasn't been as impressive, but I do think she's due for a very good performance. But 9-0, I know she's going to have to lose sometime, and losing to Jillian isn't the worst thing in the world. We'll see. But I'll go with Piera Rodriguez by I'm going to say a second round TKO. Next bout, Ed Hermen versus Zach Cummings, taking place at lightweight. I'm not going to spend time on this one. I got Ed Hermen. He's just dog money. Both guys haven't fought in a while. Can't trust either guy. I'd rather be on the side of the dog here. Zach Cummings hasn't fought in how many years? 2.5. Ed Hermen hasn't fought since Alonzo Menafield about a year and a half ago. He didn't get knocked out by Alonzo Menafield, and I was betting that he would. So I was like, at least Ed's still tough. I think it's going to be a slobber knocker, slobber knocker fight between these two. I think it's got possibility to be fight of the night because when you get two older guys just slinging leather, it is what it is. I've got Ed Hermen. I'm not going to break it down as many times as I could look into this fight and break down the intricacies that each guy does. Like, oh, this guy's got good top control. And this guy's really good at sweeps with the Kimura trap. Doesn't fucking matter. They're both older men. Fuck, anything could happen here. One guy could, get tapped in the nuts. Anyways, we will go here with Ed Hermen. Next bout, this is the one I'm looking forward to the most. And because I'm going to be in attendance in the crowd, you might hear me scream "Raw Dog" really loud. I love Brandon Royval. He's one of my favorite fighters in any division. Super fun to watch. Ridiculous whirlwind of attack. Plus 135. No logic needed. I'm going to go with Royval. Mateos Nicolau, minus 165. Logically, if we're doing everything logically, Nicolau, rightful favorite, absolutely. Defensively sound, BJJ black belt, good striker, good power in his hands, excellent defense and movement. Doesn't matter when Royval's fighting because Royval isn't that kind of guy. When Raw Dog goes full Raw Dog, it doesn't matter how good you are because Nicolau could be doing everything right, and then Raw Dog's like, fuck it, flying knee, cracks him in the mouth. I'd love it if he actually says, fuck it, flying knee, and he actually catches him with a flying knee. That'd be insane. But he's a tall dude, 6'9", my ass. 5'9". He's going to have the, how many? 3-inch height advantage and 3.5 inch reach advantage. I really like Raw Dog. And again, I'm not a logical guy when he fights. I always pick him. I ride or die Raw Dog. So again, I'm going to be in attendance. If Raw Dog does some Raw Dog shit, listen for me to say really loud, Raw Dog. I'm going to go with Raw Dog, round number 1 knockout. Again, it's not a prediction. It's just me going with my heart. I know how good Nicolau is. If I'm doing this logically, I would probably pick Nicolau by finish. But I don't think logically when Raw Dog is fighting. I go with my heart here. And my heart says Raw Dog all day, every day. So round number 1 knockout, because I say so. Next bout, TJ Brown versus Senor Perfecto Bill Algeo. The first time I've ever said it perfectly, Senor Perfecto. I usually call him like Mr. Perfecto or some bullshit. I can never get it right. Senor Perfecto versus downtown TJ Brown. Perfecto is minus 160. Come back on TJ Brown plus 135. I like Bill Algeo in this one quite a bit. I might put him on a couple parlays. I just think he's better. I think his cardio is better. His output is better. Submission defense is better. TJ, he's been impressing me as of late, but he can get taken down himself. If Bill Algeo gets in any trouble, I think he can get takedowns of his own, get on top, cause a bit of damage. He might be able to get Bill Algeo, get TJ Brown out of there later in the rounds. He's just a big dude. I just don't see Bill being able to get fully taken down by TJ because TJ, that's his number 1 priority is like, he can get you hurt on the feet and he'll still go for a takedown, not knowing he got you hurt. Like that's his number 1 priority is get the takedown because he can't fight any other way. I actually like when he stays on the feet a little bit because he's shown some good stuff on the feet, like good kicks, good punches. He's gotten a lot faster, a lot more output. But to me, it's almost like he always just wants to set up his strikes to get to the takedowns despite his success on the feet. It's like, it is what it is with TJ, but I also don't trust his cardio. I like Bill Algeo's cardio better. I'll go with Bill Algeo by a decision. I think he could potentially finish him, so I'll probably stick with the money line with Bill. Main card opener, we've got, motherfucker. Clay Guida versus Rafa Garcia. I got Garcia by a decision. Mostly think it's going to be a really close fight. 29-28 going to go to Rafa Garcia. Clay Guida's very good, obviously, at the wrestling. They're both wrestlers. And Clay's just really good at getting those split decisions. Like whether he wins them or loses them, he's really good at getting those split decisions by doing enough. Like let's go back, Scotty Holtzman. I thought he won that fight, but it was a split. Let's not talk about Boyes. Let's not talk about Santos because Santos, Mark Madsen split decision there. Like I had money on Mark. I had a couple $100 on Mark. I had a big sweat. Oh boy! Anytime I bet Marco Madsen, I have a big sweat. And all right, nice. Dodgers are up. I got money on the Dodgers. Pieces of shit. Yeah, Rafa's definitely the younger guy, the more explosive guy. He's got youth on his side, and that's really going to benefit him here. I don't know how good his gas tank is, though. Like, he fights well through the fatigue. And I will say this, he really, really impressed me this last fight. Last two fights, to be exact. Drakkar Close, he had some really good moments against Drakkar. He could have won that fight. It's just that Drakkar had a little bit more in the gas tank. And by a little, I mean a lot more. It's just that I don't want to say that Drakkar wanted it more, but he wanted it more. And against Mahashate, like, dude got cut up pretty bad in the top of the skull there. I find that to be incredibly gutsy, me in particular, because I'm a tough dude. Like I don't like talking about like myself like, oh, I'm a badass, but like I can take a fucking punch like no other. I can take a punch. I've been kicked in the face before. Like I just have those good genetics. But when it comes to blood, I am a little bitch, dude. Like I don't know what it is. Like I've been cut before. I've gotten like a nasty gash on my nose before, and I kind of felt it. I'm like, oh fuck, what happened? Like, cause I got bit by a dog once, and it got me really bad. Go to the bathroom. Like I immediately go to the bathroom to see what happened. I see a little bit of bone, and I'm just like, oh, like help. Like I had to call my then girlfriend at the time, like, hey, take me to the hospital. I'm passing out. And like she still makes fun of me to this day, even though we don't talk anymore because she's a yeah. Anyways, and then I kind of cut my finger really bad just a couple years ago. Like I filleted my finger and I saw the bone, and I'm like, oh, I didn't go to the hospital for that one because I got a little bit tougher over the years. Kind of like wrapped it up myself. But I respect the guy who can get covered in his own blood and not, you know, freak out. Like I don't like blood on myself. But with this fight, like I think it's going to be close. I think Quita is going to steal around, and you might hear that split decision being announced. And I still think Rafa's going to get it, but I don't want that heart attack, especially at those odds, which I don't know if I mentioned. Minus 225, Garcia plus 180, Carpenter. I'm good. I'll stay away from it. Like if I do end up putting Garcia on a parlay, it's going to be one that I am comfortable potentially losing. So I'm good on this one. So I've got Garcia by a decision. If Garcia comes out here slanging leather, give him props. That's another thing I kept thinking. Like when you get in a fight like that and you overcome such a bad cut, because that was a lot of blood that he lost. Like I think I read somewhere that he lost a significant amount of blood, and then you overcome that, you might get a little like, I'm a bad motherfucker. Like I overcame that, and then you feel a little bit more confident coming into your next fight. And if he does that, if he feels like a bad motherfucker because he was in that moment, he can come out here and like start piecing up Clay Guida. He could get a knockout. I just think he's more of that like designated grappler first. And I think because of that, it's going to be a really close fight with the, you know, Clay Guida being the badass wrestler that he is. Literally says that wrestling saved his life, and he could save his life again here by getting this decision win by split. But let's move on to the next bout. Taking place at bantamweight, we've got Chris Gutierrez versus Pedro Munhoz. Gutierrez minus 220. Munhoz is a plus 180. To keep it short, I like Gutierrez on this one a lot. I think he is a phenomenal fighter. He keeps getting better and better. I'm kind of excluding that Frankie Edgar fight because he looked really good in that fight. But again, the fight that really impressed me the most was Dana Batgirl. The way he was like getting pressured against the cage, and he would just kind of like, and then he would bounce out before Dana Batgirl attacked his head or anything. It was just like, damn, this guy's really fucking good as a kickboxer. And, he's been taken down in the past, like Felipe Colares took him down and he got it to a split decision. I just see Chris's game evolving each and every time. And if, despite the fact that I say I'm not counting the Frankie Edgar fight, if that version shows up here against Pedro Munhoz, I think he definitely gets a 30-27 because I don't think he's going to finish Munhoz. Munhoz is tough. It's going to be the battle of the leg kicks. And because I'm going to be there, I will then tell you guys who kicks harder because I will hear and I will tell you which one is louder between the two. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be incredibly fun. It's just that Pedro, not to discount the fact that he's up in age. It's just more so that he likes to follow guys sometimes. And I just think that Chris is going to be too fast for Pedro. Pedro has to slow him down with the leg kicks. But again, battling leg kicks is going to be super fun. We'll see what happens. I'm not completely counting out Pedro Munhoz. I'm just stating that if Chris Gutierrez shows up as I expect him to show up, he's going to win this fight. I don't like the price tag of the 220. I would like it below that, like maybe 180 would be nice for Chris Gutierrez. Minus 180, that is. At 220 is Pedro Munhoz. He's a tough dude. And he can always get that guillotine. I mean, the way I see him getting it, because Chris isn't going to shoot, if Chris gets kicked in the leg and he stumbles to one knee, I can see Pedro just snatching it up. And once he snatches it, like, I don't care how good his defense is, Chris's, he's got one of the most devastating guillotines in the game. I just don't see it happening, though. I think it's going to be fun on the feet, and Chris is going to be incredibly faster. Like, Pedro's definitely training with a guy to get the feel for Chris's speed. But when he gets in there, he's going to be like, oh, fuck, this guy. He's too fast for me, boy. He was too fast. I did not know how fast he was. It's just going to be really a different story. So I'll go with Gutierrez by a decision. If Gutierrez finishes Pedro Munhoz with strikes, knocks him out, oh boy, that's going to be interesting. I would freak out. I'd be like hyped as F if that were to happen in the crowd. Let's move on. Next bout, Tanner Boser versus Ian Cutelaba at 205. Tanner's finally dropping down to light heavyweight after being in the heavyweight for many years. Always saying that he didn't want to drop down. Why would he drop down? He has a speed advantage. He might still have the speed advantage here against Ian, but not as defined as it would have been at heavyweight. And, if I'm being honest here, this is Ian's least talented fighter that he's fought in a while, like the less skilled. Not to discredit Tanner. Tanner's a solid dude, a tough hillbilly from Alberta, Canada. It's just that, he can get out wrestled. And that's always been the biggest issue with Tanner. Like, great chin. I just don't see him having the overall skill set to beat Ian Cutelaba early. I think Ian has to win. He's fought nothing but absolute giants his last 3 fights. Kennedy and Zechiku, Johnny Walker, and Ryan Spann. Gigantic human beings. He was able to take down most of them. I don't remember if he took down Kennedy. If he did, it was brief. But he's going to be able to take down Tanner Boser. And if he is able to implement that steady grappling game plan, I do think he can win at the very, very least 29-28 and avoid getting knocked out in the third. If Tanner Boser does end up getting kind of dominated on the feet, potentially maybe beat up to the point that it might be a 10-8, Tanner's not going to get knocked out. Maybe not. I will be looking into possibly taking that live shot on Tanner Boser. I think most people would know that. Most people that watch my channel are very, very smart. So I think you guys would understand that betting Tanner Boser live would be beneficial for your wallet. But if you want to take him right now, plus 100, I wouldn't blame you. Like, he's got a good chance to maybe hurt Ian. Maybe Ian's completely shot. He's 29 years old, which is ridiculous. But to me, as I mentioned before, this is the least skilled guy he's going to be fighting in a while. The fact that he needs this win, 3 losses in a row, I'm surprised he's getting another shot. So this means he has to win this fight. Sucks for Tanner because, like, I would like to see what he brings to the table against, like, another striker in the light heavyweight division, but they gave him Ian. We'll see what happens, but I've got Ian by a decision on this one. Next bout, Dustin Jacoby versus Azamat Murzakanov. Dustin Jacoby minus 205, come back on Murzakanov plus 170. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the third time I'm breaking these down. And I said a lot about this fight. To me, I think Dustin Jacoby is the best fighter that Murzakanov has fought. He's 12-0, and looking at his record, it looks a little padded to me. And the reason I never really brought that up in the past was because it didn't matter how padded his record was. The skill set that he brought to the table was perfect for those opponents. Although I did get a huge scare against Tafon and Chukwi, the fight against Devin Clark, like I heard a lot of rumblings about, oh, Devin Clark's gonna beat him, like Murzakanov's a Fraudzakanov, fucking Azahat, Fraudzakanov. I don't know, a bunch of bullshit. But that was a perfect matchup for Murzakanov. They're like checkered past, like shitty record, padded record or not, like they're still good matchups. I don't know if Dustin's a good matchup for him. Dustin's got good takedown defense, better striker, longer guy. Let me see here. How tall is this motherfucker? He is I couldn't see my screen. 6'3" compared to 5'10", 78 inches compared to the 71. As long as Dustin doesn't do anything stupid, I think he wins this fight. Like I had a whole spiel about his last fight and how I thought it was a robbery, not because Khalil won the fight. I would have been fine had it been Khalil round number 1 and round number 3. But Ben Cartledge's dumbass had round number 1, Jacoby, round number 2 and 3 for Roundtree. And I thought that was the biggest robbery, because I understand if you give round number 1 and round number 3 to Khalil Roundtree, like I don't like it, I don't agree with it, but I accept it and I understand it. Round number 2 and 3 for Roundtree is just an absolute disgrace to judging, period. Being a judge myself, if you don't know, because I say it all the time, you give round number 1 to Jacoby, a round that was definitively closer than round number 2, where I would, again, still give it to Jacoby, but I would understand if you gave it to Roundtree based off of him having, despite the lesser volume, the harder shots, but it was closer. Round number 2, where Jacoby has the more volume and Roundtree has less of those power shots and is looking gassed, you decide, wow, that round where I thought Jacoby did enough to win, he did the exact same thing here, but more so. But I still think the other guy won it. I'm like, you're a fucking moron. That was pisses me off. Again, it's not the outcome, it's the scorecard. Had that scorecard been assessed correctly by Ben Cartledge, by Ben Cartledge, it should have gone to Jacoby. And that's the reason I think it was a robbery. It was just the absolute ridiculousness of the scoring criteria of a judge who cannot consistently judge accurately in his own scorecard. If you would have gone 30-27 Khalil Roundtree, at least I would understand that you're judging more based off of the power shots, despite the fact that they're landing or not. You're just like, oh, I think it landed. Sure. You may be fucking stupid, but I can understand where you're coming from. That is one of the worst scorecards I've ever seen based off of like a judge's own logic. Like you give one round where it was closer to one guy doing the more output, does more output in the second round, but you decided to give it to the guy who's gassing and doesn't have the same output. Round number 3, no debate, Roundtree. Anyways, I got Jacoby by a decision. I'm so fucking pissed off about that. You might know that I lost money on it. That's not the worst thing. It's how I lost money. It's like, I would understand if it was consistent and I get where you're coming from, but when you're being a jack off like that and you're not even consistent in your own scorecards, like I take offense to that kind of shit. Next bout, Edson Barboza versus Billy Q. Billy Q, bit of a walking, tough punching bag. Edson Barboza, a good hammer, but not a nail. Billy Q is both the good hammer and a very good nail. Moves forward, minus 165 for him, plus 135 for Edson Barboza. To keep it very simple, because I went back and forth. I'm like, what if he does this? And what if this guy does that? I just think that Edson, the way to beat him is out there. And I think Billy's got the style to do so. He just has to not get his ass beat early. And you damage Billy Q enough. And, he will slow down. If he can't keep up a specific pace, Edson can really style on him. And that's my biggest concern about this matchup, especially like nearing the fact that when I'm going to bet Billy, if I do bet him, he might be at like a minus 180. Like, I'm not going to bet him quite yet. I'm still kind of debating on it, like if I'm going to pull the trigger on him or not. But I'm just not certain. Like, I'm really not sure. Just Edson can win this fight. It's just that Billy's style, his forward pressure, his raw dogness in him. He's got a big dog in him. I think he can present a lot of challenges for Barboza that consistently we have seen him fail to. Like, if you pressure him, if you dominate him on the ground, you get him exhausted, you can really beat his ass. And Billy's the kind of guy that, although he's not the best fighter that Edson's fought, and definitely not the best fighter that is capable of knocking him out or finishing him, there's been other guys that are much better than Billy Q that couldn't finish Edson. It's just that Billy's style is just so different than most guys because he takes so many chances, and within those chances, he does a lot of damage sometimes. Like, he can go for something so ridiculous, like doesn't make sense, but he damages your body. Like, he kind of leaves himself open. Like, sometimes he throws caution to the wind, but that defenselessness allows him to cause the right amount of damage. And I think if he attacks the body of Edson, if he pushes him up against the cage, goes for takedowns, gets him down, takes his back, beats him up, come the later rounds, he's just going to melt him a little bit. So I'll go with Billy Q to finish him in round number 3. Again, Edson's tough. I just think he's nearing the end. Like, he had a good run in both lightweight and again in featherweight, but at this very moment, I just think this game plan is out on how to beat Edson, and I think Billy Q is going to be able to do so, but he's going to probably take a bit of damage, and he'll push through it because he is a fucking dog. I'll go with Billy Q by a third round TKO. And finally, main event of the evening, Max Holloway versus almighty Arnold Allen. And there's a lot to say about this. I want to condense it down, but we've got number 2 fighting number 3. To get it out of the way, obviously the odds minus 170 come back on Arnold Allen is a plus 145, 174 Holloway, that is. Arnold Allen is number 3. I don't like the circumstances as to why he's number 3. He beat Calvin Kattar. That clearly wasn't his fault, but it fast tracked him to number 3. Let's look at number 1 through, I guess, champion through number 2. Volkanovski, the pound for pound number 1 in the world, greatest fighter of all time, lightweight champ, and also featherweight champion. Great rugby player, massive hog from what I hear from, excellent chef, definitely has some tasty desserts, fantastic human being all around. Number, I guess, 1, because he's the interim champ, Yair Rodriguez. Tough bastard, tough Mexican dude. Don't like the guy. Never really liked the guy. Very skilled, though. Absolutely killer of a fighter. And then number 2, Max Holloway, the guy who beat the interim champ last. Max Holloway, say what you want about the guy. The guy's a definite fighter. He still got it in him. I keep hearing about, like, oh, maybe Holloway's a little washed up. Why? How is he washed up? Because he lost to the greatest fighter of all time 3 times in a row. He didn't get finished by him. It's admirable. Some people say, not me, some people say that he beat him the second fight. I wouldn't say that. Definitely not. I would never say that. But some people say that, and I can appreciate their opinion, and I respect it, but they're wrong. Arnold Allen, though, he hasn't really fought the level of competition. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm disrespecting the guy, because I think he is incredibly talented. I love me some Arnold Allen. He's been incredibly profitable in the UFC. I bet him literally every fight up until now. I've got Max Holloway to beat him. I think round number 4 TKO. And the reason for that, not because I think Arnold Allen has bad cardio or anything like that. I think Arnold Allen paces himself well. I just don't think he has the output, and I don't really think he's got the ability to hurt Max Holloway. Like, Arnold's very sneaky with that left hand, being that he is a southpaw. He's got a very, very good calf kick, and he's very solid on the feet. Like, he's kind of hard to hit himself, but he's fighting a guy with an iron chin, a coconut chin, and a willingness to trade. And Max Holloway is a very good striker. The way he attacks the body, I think that if everything is still true about Max Holloway, and he's still number 2 in the world, I think he's going to really hurt Arnold Allen. I think he's going to make it look not necessarily easy, because nothing's easy in this world, especially when you're fighting top level fighters. And Arnold Allen's got a great fight IQ, but I think he's going to make it look like Arnold doesn't belong in the top of the division, because I fully believe that if Arnold Allen were to skip right now, let's just say he beats Max Holloway, decision, if he knocks him out, whatever. If he beats Max Holloway, I do think that is the worst thing for him, because there is an impending ass whooping on his way. Because I don't think he's going to be able to beat Volkanovski, and I don't think he's going to beat Yair Rodriguez. I think both those guys overwhelm him and they beat his ass. Um, Not to the point of like, oh my God, it's a man fighting a child, but I think they do things to him that he is not accustomed to. I just haven't seen that X factor from Arnold Allen quite yet, where he's gone those 5 rounds in the UFC. Like, unfortunately, those 5 rounds were taken away from us in that data from the Calvin Cater fight, and I'm not blaming Arnold at all. Like, it is what it is. It's just that I get a weird sour taste, and again, I'm not blaming Arnold for this. It's not his fault, but I get a weird sour taste that he got into the top 3 of the division via an injury. Like, he goes from like Gilbert Melendez and Nick Lentz, Sadiq Youssef, who's a great fighter himself, but again, not there yet. Dan Hooker, who, I get it, but Dan Hooker, no. To then Calvin Cater, and the way that that fight went down, I feel like he was just fast tracked right into the top of the division, which is great. I'm not hating on it. It's just more of like, is that the best thing for this guy right now? Like, he's going a little too quickly up to the top of the division. And usually when Max Holloway fights a guy that's not on his level, he gets this, he destroys a guy. And we saw what he did to Calvin Cater. He absolutely butchered him on the feet. Oh man, he embarrassed Calvin to the point of like Calvin had to reflect his life and learn how to throw elbows. And everyone was picking against him, against Giga Chikadze, like, oh, Giga's gonna whip his ass. And we saw how good, we saw the break in the division. We saw the top of the division. We saw Max Holloway, we saw Yair Rodriguez, and we saw Volkanovski, the top 3 kings of that division right now. Like, although I fucking hate Yair Rodriguez, he's incredibly talented and he's very dangerous. And that danger, that X factor that he presents to the table, that chin, the ridiculous power, the striking, the grappling now, that is the type of X factor that pushes a guy to the next level. And I'm not seeing that from Arnold. He's technically sound, great power in his hands, but not like a knockout machine. He's mostly a decisioner. Good calf kicks. He hasn't really grappled all too much, but he's a solid grappler. He's good all around. But is he good enough to beat Max Holloway? And at this very moment, I don't think so. And I think that Max is going to put hands on him, and I think he crumbles Arnold Allen with cumulative body shots, and I think he TKOs him in the 4th round. And if Arnold Allen wins, I definitely have to reassess. Again, I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but maybe this is a moment that he shows me that X factor, that he shows me that he has a ridiculously iron chin, and that he's got this ability to just ragdoll dudes on the ground. And, we haven't seen that quite yet. We haven't seen the completeness of Arnold Allen because he hasn't had to use it. So we'll see what he brings to the table against the toughest matchup he's ever had in Max Holloway. And I'm incredibly excited to see this, because I get to see Max Holloway fight live. It's not necessarily like I'm a huge Holloway fan, but it's like the dude is riding a legendary career, and I don't want to miss it. It's similar to like when Connor fights Michael Chandler. I've seen Michael Chandler fight live. It didn't go well, and I love Michael. So if I get to see those two, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna look at tickets. But when it gets announced, I'm excited for it. But yeah, like seeing Max Holloway fight live is going to be awesome for me in Kansas City. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. If anyone is in the Kansas City area, and if maybe you want to say hi, come at me. I'll put a little tweet out saying where I'm at. If anyone's in that location, just don't be weird, don't be creepy. Just hi, nice to meet you. Shake hands, cool. Um, I'm always down to talk to fans, man. Like I absolutely love, not necessarily my fans, but fans of the sport. I don't have any fans, But I love talking to guys that love UFC. Like, it brings us together, man. It's great. Like, just respectful banter and shit. It's awesome. But yeah, that's been my those have been my predictions for UFC Fight Night Kansas City, Holloway versus Allen. I was gonna say like, share, subscribe. I don't really like to ask people to subscribe, but I always like to think like if I earned your subscription, it'd be nice. But thanks for stopping by anyways. If you would like to join the Discord, I absolutely love the guys in my Discord. Like, I like to keep it kind of jokey in there. It's all fun and games. Like, I really like connecting to people who like talking the sport, that have interesting takes. Like, it's mostly like a joking community. I come from a comedy background, so you might get a shit ton of bad jokes from me. But a link should be in the description below. I am considering down the line, like say when Jose, my usual partner, if you're just watching me live for the first time, sometimes he can't make it. I might get some people from the Discord to jump on, just talk. Nothing crazy. You don't have to show your face. Like, I'm a laid back dude. You don't really have to like know too much about the sport. I just want to know what people's opinions are. I'm not going to shit on anyone for being what they call a casual. If you're watching the sport and you're getting into it, I'm always down to have a conversation with anybody. But yeah, definitely, I would appreciate anyone joining the Discord very much so. But that's been Johnny from Tiger Bond MMA. Hopefully, I get to see some people at Kansas City. That'd be great. And yeah, catch you at the next fights.